It started with the missing items. The mail comes pretty predictably at about 1 every afternoon. It comes to the big mailbox at the edge of the parking lot, and when I saw the flag was down, I knew they had run. The lady was expecting a notice from the city council about some kind of event coming up, a beautification project of some sort, and she was excited to see what the city had in mind. When I opened the little door and found nothing, however, I was a little confused. "Randy," I said, coming back into the booth empty-handed, "you sure that letter was supposed to come today?" "Positive," Randy said, looking up from his magazine. "She had a conferment from the city yesterday." "Well, the mailbox is empty." It wasn't the only thing that had gone missing, but it was the most noticeable. The night before, when the inmates had been here to help us clean up before we reset for Christmas, a couple of them had approached us, saying we were short some tools. We were missing 3 shovels, we were missing a sledgehammer, and we only had 6 pairs of rubber boots as opposed to 8. We were down 2 sets of hedge clippers as well. This prompted all the inmates to be searched, their work areas to be searched, the bus to be searched as well. The officers seemed pretty sure that the inmates had taken them for some reason, but we never found any of it. It was annoying, but it really didn't stop any of them from getting their work done. The rest went off without a hitch. We cleared out the farmland area and set up the Christmas trees that we meant to grow there. The barn was decorated to look like Santa's workshop. The maze was replaced with some basic decorations, and when the COs asked if we needed help with the other side, we told them that we had it in hand already. In reality, we had already dissolved the spooky trees and the candy forest. The witch's house had become a gingerbread house, and the lily pond would be its usual self, no matter the season. That's where the pine trees would be coming from, and some other surprises that the lady said she was working on. It won't be as grand as our Halloween spectacular, but I wouldn't want to disappoint the people of Cashmere by doing nothing. She specifically didn't talk about why she hadn't done anything the year before, and the possibility that it could happen again. We were well into November now, and the Green Man's power would only grow as we went on. The growing theory seemed to be that he wouldn't attack again this year, but no one seemed 100% sure of this. Who could say what he might or might not do, but he had been very quiet this year for some reason. He had sent out none of the usual feelers, no pumpkin heads during our fall festival, no signs of him sending out his power to thwart us, not even a corn creature hiding amidst our maze. It was strange. The Green Man had passed up a perfectly good opportunity to cause some real havoc. It had made us all very uneasy. It made Randy and I feel like we were just waiting for the other shoe to drop. But the later in the season it got, the stranger it was that we weren't affected by him or his ilk. Unless, I couldn't help but think, these disappearances were his doing. Not long after, I started seeing the shadows. Not real shadows, of course. It was more things from the corner of my eye, making images that would disappear when I tried to get a better look at them. They were human-shaped, lurking at the edge of my vision, and they seemed to follow me on my rounds. I could believe that they were some strange delusion, maybe a trick of the light, but when I turned suddenly and heard one of them crunch into the underbrush, vanishing completely, I knew different. Delusions don't crunch into the fallen leaves, and a trick of the light didn't leave boot prints in the earth. We were being stalked by something, and it was something real. I didn't tell Randy, not even sure what I would tell him, but I could sense that The other Brandylows saw them too, on their nightly rounds. Many of them had become twitchy, looking over their shoulders and jumping at small sounds. It didn't seem to affect the ones that worked the greenhouses or who worked closely with the lady in her cultivating. It was only the ones who worked security, and whatever they were, they seemed to stalk us exclusively. Was it trying to determine our routes? Learn our patterns? I didn't know, but it made me feel extremely paranoid, and it definitely weighed on me. I felt like I should tell somebody, but I was worried that no one would believe me. When the lady and Tobias came to us the next day, I was worried that they had started seeing them too. "I understand that things have gone missing," she said, and Randy looked at Tobias, who had the good grace to look embarrassed. "Well, I had to say something. If it is the Green Man, then the lady should be aware." Randy sighed. "Yeah, I wanted to be sure before I bothered you. We don't really know what's going on, or whether it's him or one of our other enemies of the court." The lady thought about that for a moment. Yes, it could be someone from the Faye side of things. Tobias, do you remember the sprites that used to serve Queen Mab? Tobias nodded, his face looking strained. Unfortunately, they could be quite a nuisance. I wonder if perhaps this has something to do with them, or perhaps the Dewdrop fairies who serve Titania. "I suppose it's possible," Tobias said. "Wait, why would they want to take our things? What possible need could they have for them?" "Most of the time, it's just to be annoying, though the mail makes me think it might have something to do with reconnaissance. Perhaps they want to know when we plan to be out of the park and learn something of our movements." The lady thought about that. "This doesn't bode well. If Titania is truly against me, and Mab is also against me, then we stand alone against the strength of a united Fae." "We don't have any proof of that, though," I said, and Randy looked like he had intended to say something similar. "Perhaps," she said, "but perhaps not. I think it might be time that I consider something that I hadn't wanted to entertain for some time. Will you walk with me?" she asked me suddenly. "I need to discuss a matter with you." "If it's something that could determine the park's safety," Randy began, but she shook her head. "It is something that could determine the safety of your second here, and that is why I wish to discuss it with him privately." I'll hear you out," I said, rising and leaving Tobias and Randy in the security building. Tobias gave her an oddly knowing look, but she shook her head at him. Whatever he knew, he kept to himself, and the two of us moved off into the evening. The sun was just beginning to set over the park, and as the air became chilly, I was glad for the fur on my arms and chest. Despite the dangers, this has always been one of my favorite times of year. It seems unfair that it should be his alone. I nodded. Winter in the mountains has always been something I look forward to as well. It's bleak, but very pretty. I should inform you that what I ask of you is not to be taken lightly. Your life could, in all likelihood, be in danger. I would not ask this of you if it were not of the utmost importance. Do you believe that?" I nodded, realizing too late that she wanted me to vocalize it. "I do, my lady. Tobias thinks it should be him, but I believe that he would make too tempting a target for our enemies. Randy would go, if I asked, but I also believed that he would tempt them to action. You, however, are a relative unknown in the court, and I believe they would underestimate you. That could be to your advantage, your weapon, and it might cause them to speak candidly around you in a way that they would not around others." She was rambling, our steps taking us near the lily pond. "My lady," I said, trying to draw her back to the conversation, "I'm afraid I don't understand what you're asking of me." She shook her head, seeming to notice I was there again. "Queen Titania had asked me to send an emissary, someone to represent our interest in court affairs. I want you to be that emissary." "Me?" I asked, as stunned as I was touched. I'd be honored." "Don't be," she said, shaking her head. "You are there to spy, just as much as they are hoping to spy on you. I'm sending you into danger, and though I feel terrible about it, I see no other way to gain the information we need. Both courts will be at the council meeting, and if one or both of them are planning to move against us, it is likely that they will let something slip. I want you to be vigilant and soak in what you hear so you can report it back to me." "And what's to stop them from simply getting rid of me once they realize I don't know anything?" I asked, trying to be glib but sounding as scared as I felt. I was, in theory, immortal and didn't want to give it up so easily. "They won't," she assured me. "While at court, you are under the protection of the queens. The worst they could do is detain you. They could do no harm to you, not while you serve me. I know this is a lot to ask, but can I count on you to be my emissary in this matter?" I thought about it, nodding slowly as I realized yet again that it didn't matter how I felt about it. I would walk into hell for her, and it wouldn't even take that much coaxing. We had moved beside the pond at some point, and she reached into the water and brought out a blue stole that she laid over my shoulders. She had pulled it from the water. I had watched her, but the fabric was dry as a bone. It was a regal blue with gold piping, and it felt as delicate as silk. "Then wear my favor and be my emissary from this day on. I trust you will act as Randy's second, but this will now be part of your title and your duties within the park. I'm sorry to put this on you, but I am glad you accepted. Of all my Brandylow, you show a particular aptitude for strategy and decisive thinking. I believe you will do well at this." She left me then, walking into the pool as the others gathered, so she could begin her work. When I entered the security building, Tobias clapped his hands and bowed his horned head. "Well met, emissary of the garden." Randy looked surprised, but laughed as he clapped me on the shoulder. "I suppose you were due for a promotion. Don't forget us little people when you get to the top, kid." I laughed. She was right. It should have been you. I don't think the Faye court would know quite what to make of you, Randy. He laughed, but he shook his head. "No, you were the better fit. You've always been better at thinking around corners than me. I usually just put my head down and charge, but you're a thinker, and that's what's needed here most of all." "So now what do I do?" I asked Tobias. He shrugged. "You wait to be summoned, generally. The Faye call meetings on no particular schedule, so you just kind of watch and wait." So I returned to work and waited to be summoned. I'm not quite sure what to expect, but I suppose we'll find out when I'm called upon. Till then, I guess I just remain vigilant.
You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel. Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.